A4AF3 upper valve body, hollow end of the valve out, spring, this end of the valve up, spring. The adjuster I measured from the tip here to the base right there where the plate sits. This little tab has to line up right there. Stem up on the valve, spring, put your little stopper in, let's see, I believe it goes in right, nope, goes in right there. Hollow end of the valve up, spring, spring, make sure the stem of the valve gets in the spring, this side up, and that has to get into the back side of the valve there. Stem up on the valve, spring, and the plate. $8mm bolts, there's 7 of them. Hollow end up on the valve, spring, end plug. The roll pin has to go through the hole on that. Just leave the manual valve out for right now. So it's just gonna fall out. Stem up on the valve, spring, the smaller side in, this side of the valve faces out. And there is a stopper that goes in there also, right there. It'll probably fall out on you, so put some grease in it, hold it in there. Hollow end, this stem end up, spring, and retaining plate. There's 5 bolts holds this one in. Okay, on this side there's a little washer. So you got the washer goes in. You have an orifice. It goes in here. You probably want to put a little grease on there to hold that in there. This fits in there. We have to press this down. I'll get the measurement on that. There's an O-ring that holds that in. 250 thousandth steel balls. One goes there, there, and there. And there's a spring and a ball that goes here. Okay, lower valve body. Stem out on the valve. Spring. I measured from the ledge here to the base here where it sits against the plate. And these fingers have to fit in the notches of the bracket here. Spring. Stem, long stem in, spring, hollow end of the valve in. Make sure that spring gets in the back side of that valve. Sleeve. Does not matter which direction it goes, but put it back the way it came. This side of the valve out. The sleeve. Our plate. 8mm bolts. There's 6 of them.
You're not needing any other hard parts, are you?
Alright, spring, stem in plug, and the roll pin has to go through that hole. Stem up on the valve, spring, in plug, and retainer. Alright, our separator plate. Alright, separator plates. And our housing. Some of these bolts have to come back off to get the solenoids on there. So these 3 bolts right here are 1" 180. On this valve body here, you have to be careful that you don't push the ball off as you're putting this down. Right, these should be the same size as those others. Nope, not that one. And not that one. We're going to get all the bolts started, and then we'll tighten everything up. Now, some of this I'm going to have to take back apart if we end up getting to build it. Sealing ring, scarf cut goes on here. O-ring goes on here. We may get to build this one. I was beginning to wonder if we were going to, and it's looking more and more like we might be able to. So, and let me measure these bolts here. We may have already measured them once. We shall measure them again. There's 3 bolts, and they are 1.472. Okay, our filter usually comes in a kit, so we'll be changing that also. Check ball 250 steel goes down and spring on top, and 250 steel ball there, and then our lower valve body. All right. We have a bracket with these 2 bolts. The gold one is 2-inch 432. The silver one is 2-inch 602. And then up there. Alright, the short one is 1-inch 5 thousandths, and that one right there. We have 3 that are 2-inch 428. Yep, don't go there. Right there. Right there. And right there. Seven that are 1-inch 868. One that is silver and is 1-inch 812. One that is silver and is 1-inch 598. And one that is 1-inch 472. Yep, and don't go there. So where is my one that goes there? Alright. So this one here, 1-inch 872. we say this one was? 1 inch 470. And that is going to have to go right there. Have a bracket with 2 bolts that are 748 thousandths. Okay, on our solenoids, some have O-rings like that, some have seals like this, and since I don't have the kit yet, I'm not going to be able to change these. But you push that off, and then, boy, these are hard as a rock. Just peel them off like that. Make sure that when you put it on the flats or on the flats, there's a groove that that solenoid lip fits into. You just put them on there, lube them up, and then slide your sleeve back onto it. And we got this here. We got yellow, brown, red, and 6 bolts. Well, that's 6 bolts that hold that on. So those solenoids, 1.495. Emma, get out there. Alright, our ground wire has a bolt. It is 1 inch 5 thousandths. Actually, I don't think that one goes there. So let's get the rest of this on here. Alright. We've got 2 bolts. Let's see. There are 4 bolts that are 1" 180. Blue wire. And the white wire. And these 2 bolts are 1" 25 thousandths. And I think I'm going to have to turn this solenoid. Alright, need to turn these 2 solenoids around. Then our ground comes up here, hooks into this bolt. Alright. Now, that needs to go that way. This bracket needs to go right here. just like so. And this bracket needs to go right here. Alright, then when we get our kit, oh, we got one bolt left. When we get our kit, our O-ring needs to go there. Do not forget that O-ring. Make sure it does not fall off. Alright, where's our last little bolt go? Right here. And it is 1 inch 5 thousandths. Alright, let me put my stuff in my valve body. Dang it. Alright, I'm just going to show one each of these. And you'll get the gist of the idea. Alright, O-rings here. And on this one, we have a seal like that.
Hey.
Alright. And on these, come on, get off of there. Pull this off. And our filter. And a new filter. And a new seal. Ammo, get in there. Alright, and just do the rest of them the same way. Okay, another reason for the failure of this bearing right here on this hub is line pressure being too high. So what you're going to do is you're going to get you a gauge. You hook into the pressure port right here. You're going to unplug the connector for the transmission. It's going to put it in mainline pressure. So you'll be reading mainline pressure right here. You want it to be about 130. If it's too high, you're going to turn it counterclockwise. That'll decrease it. If it's too low, you're going to turn it clockwise, and that's going to increase it right there. And let's see what size it is. And it is 4 millimeters, and each turn of the screw is supposed to be about 6 psi. Alright, be very careful you do not damage your speedometer. If you do, you're buying a carrier. We have washers that go on the side gears. These are selective, and it sets your backlash. Backlash on this is 3/1000ths on both gears, so if it's off, you're going to need to buy a set of gears for it, or a set of washers for it to make up your backlash. There's a washer on each of these side gears, pinions. Just make sure that when you get one lined up, the other's lined up. And we're way off. Let me set this up to where we can mess with this. Alright, that looks like it's right down the hole for the roll pin is there, so this side needs to face this way. And just get that in there. The roll pin has a spline on it that is up, so that when you drive this all the way in, it comes in from this way. I forgot. You don't have to drive this all the way down, but it is sticking up just a tad bit. Alright, and our ring gear. Thought these were left-handed. Yes, they are not. Could have sworn I had it the other direction when I took it off, but I guess I didn't. Okay, 94 to 101 foot-pounds on your bearings. This side faces up on both sides, and press those on in the press, and then that's it for the diff. Okay, you need to really support this really well, and then get you something on the back like a bushing driver, and go out to the press and press that shaft down until you can see that snap or O-ring right there. Once you can see that O-ring, change it, lube it really well, push it back in the exact height that you measured before you took it out. Don't just keep going, you will break the pump cover. On your bushing, stake it in place. This lube slot is pretty close to this relief hole right here. On the front seal, you can put a little notch right there if you want to, and then line it up right there. It'll help keep the pump seal from pushing out, and press that in. You have an O-ring that goes on the outside here. On the back side here, you have thrust washer that you should have kept with the pump cover, and then the race that goes there, 2 butt cut sealing rings that go on here, gasket that goes between the case and the pump, and on here you got 310 thousandths steel ball that goes right there. The outer gear goes, alright, stand up for me. Outer gear goes with the dot up. inner gear goes with the dot up, and the seal and where are we lining it? Oh, there we go. Alright, you can lube this up a little bit. Usually you can push this in by hand. If you can't get it in by hand, get you something on here and put it in an arbor press and press it down. Usually it'll go in, and then the snap ring holds that in. See if we can get this to just push in by hand. Usually it will. Inner snap ring. And I'm sorry, I don't know what I'm thinking of. The seal does face up. And dot faces up. I don't know where my brain is at today. Alright, snap ring. Just like so. And it sits on there. We have the bolts that hold the pump to the case, and they have washers on them. And then we have the bolts that hold the cover to the body. You're going to want to get something around here, a line-up band, and line that up. Also, they do make a tool, KM pump alignment tool. You set that on here. Set your stator on there. This will line it up, and then tighten your bolts down. Okay. Maybe we can get this done before the battery dies. I went ahead and left these in here, because that's all you have to do to get this bearing out. But you don't really need to take this apart unless that bearing's bad. The ID marks face down on the tall pinion. The ID marks face up on the small pinion. You have one of these spacers at the bottom of each one. One of these at the top of each one. And the large end goes to the tall pinion. On the tall pinions you have a brass washer and a metal washer that are going to sit underneath that, just like that. On the tall pinions, it takes the short needle bearings. You'll have 2 rows. You make a row, and you'll have a spacer in between, and then another row. And all of our pins are the same. The oiling grooves on that side face up, this side faces down, and it does have to lock into the shim, I guess is what you would call it, each one. So it's going to orient this the way it needs to go. The short pinions have a spacer that goes on top and 2 metal shims that go on here, and they have 1 row of the tall needle bearings for this. I'm going to do one of them, and then I guess I'll do one each. That way you can see how each one's done. I don't see no point in wasting camera time on watching multiples of these. It's going to take a little while to do it. Just put you some grease in there and put your needle bearings in. I guess I should have counted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Looks like 17 on the small pinions. Looks like 17 of these others also. Once you get those on, come on, get down in there. Quit fighting me. And just put your spacer in and push that down a little bit. Put you another bit of grease in there and do your next row. Alright, I'll be back when I get all that done. Alright, you got to put your bearing and your race in with the lip up before you do anything else. And then, like I said, the tall ones go with the ID marks down. A steel and a brass washer on top. The big side of the shim on the tall pinion. You want your notch facing this way on this one. Try not to push any pins out, which I think I did. Yep. pins in. Alright, then the short one goes with the ID marks up. And the spacer this way. Two metal shims. And then the notch facing that way on this one. Yep. And I pushed a bunch out, but you see how it goes. Very easy to push these out if you get off center, so just take your time and you'll get them in there. Alright, and let's do the same thing for the other one. Okay, then our clutch hub and oil dam goes with inside down. The sprag goes with the lip up. Another dam on top, and then the retainer, 40 Torx bolts hold that in. Once you get that in and tight, bend those tabs up to lock it in, and then on the back side is this bearing with this side down. Alright, low reverse brake. We have a D seal. It goes in here. Make sure you grab the one that has the rounded edge to the inside. And it's kind of hard to mess up, but you do need to make sure that it has that. If you happen to, you know, sometimes people go digging through a box trying to find the lip seal that fits. On this one, you got to make sure it's rounded on the inside. This one's rounded on the outside. It's D-seal also. Lube that up. You have an O-ring that goes here, O-ring that goes here. You're going to want to lube those up also. Then we have a wavy ring that's going to sit on here. You're going to have to put some grease on that to make sure that it stays in place as you're putting it in. Alright, as this goes into the case, we got a flat steel, alternate clutches and steels up. We got pressure plate. This side's going to face up. cushion plate's going to sit on top of that. Alright, on your main shaft, here is a cut plug back here. If your planets were burnt up, you're going to want to take this plug out of here and clean this bore out inside of here, and you want to make sure air comes out every one of these holes right here. If it doesn't, you need to get it to where it does. We have 2 O-rings on here. We have 3 sealing rings. They are butt cut. Put grease on it if need be, which is probably going to be the case. I'm just going to stick them on there for right now and come back and put grease on them. We have thrust race here. Make sure the side that was against where the bearing was riding goes back the same. You don't have to take this off, so don't feel obligated to take it off. And snap ring. There we go. Okay, direct clutch, or as Hyundai likes to call it, the front clutch. Here's a D-shaped seal that goes here. Make sure it's not rolled. There's a D-shaped seal here. There's a couple different sizes. So make sure you get the one that fits the best. You don't want it too loose, you don't want it too tight. Lube all that up. There's little check balls in there. Make sure that they're nice and free. Rattle around when you shake it. A return spring on your snap rings. If you look at the tips of it, there'll be an angle to it. You want the short end of the angle up, like that, not like that. You want the opening away from the notch. Alright, we have a steel goes on the bottom. You notice the cutouts right there. You can keep those all together. And alternate clutches up. No, I do not soak my clutches. If you feel the need to soak your clutches, by all means soak them. I've never seen the difference one way or the other. And then our snap ring. Okay, we have a D-shaped seal that goes in the bottom groove down here. Another question I get all the time is I'm not afraid that one of these bristles is going to come off my brush. Very rarely happens. It does happen, but you just pay attention and you take it off. I've been using that brush for about 20 years now. So here again, pick the D-shaped seal that fits the best. And then the last one that you have is going to go on this balance piston, or return spring, which springs up. So this should fit properly if you've done everything else. The other ones fit properly. This one should be fitting on here the way it's supposed to. Alright, here again, short end of the taper up, and we're going to keep it away from the little notch in the piston. Alright, start with the steel, keep the cutouts together again. The letter facing up, and then our snap ring. Alright, change out our O-rings on our input shaft. Alright, lube those up. And then we have the flat spots right here on our shaft. It doesn't matter which one, pick one. And the dot on here has to line up with the flat. Just like so. Alright, these fit very snug. You're going to have to press this in with the press or in an arbor press, and then go all the way down, and you want this washer to not be turning. And just like so. On the front here we have the washer and our bearing, and we have a butt cut sealing ring. Goes on here. You might want to put some grease in there to keep that in place. 3 butt cut sealing rings, one here, here, and here. Alright, put your front clutch on to your rear clutch. This is the end clutch. There is a seal in the back of the drum. It pops out really easily. And then your new seal goes in just like that. Just take it to the arbor press and press that in. And then there's a metal sealing ring that goes on the back here. It's hook and loop. Goes together just like so. And lube up your seal so it slides easily when you put it together. And then we have A D-shaped seal on the back. Here again, make sure your check balls are rattling. A D-shaped seal in here. Yep. Cut my lip seal. Alright, we have our return spring and short end of the taper up on our snap ring. Alright, our race. Steel, alternate up. Step up on our pressure plate, and then our snap ring, and then these two seals go in the back of the case. Okay, I don't have the new stuff yet, but our hub will sit on here. Then our race, our shim, and then our bearing. Come on, get down in the hole. Then our shaft is going to go in the case, new bushing in our shaft. This one's not the one that's going to be used. Once you get it in there, there's going to be no up and down movement. If there is, you're going to wipe out another bearing. And then this race is going to sit on the end of the transfer gear, just like that. This will be sitting up against it. The shim's going to take up the excessive end play that there usually is. You should probably end up around 2 thousandths, I would imagine, after, with that shim in there. And we're going to use an H gauge to set that up, make sure it's right, make sure we're not too tight, we're not too loose. If need be, we can put more shims. If we need to, we can take it out. If you look, when you order this kit, it's going to come with this race, this shim, this race, and this bearing, and a bushing for the shaft. In the picture, it shows this shim up here. It does not go up here on this. You can get it in there, but that's not where it goes. If you go online and you go to these articles where everybody's talking about it, they're all putting that shim right there. That is not thick enough for that bearing to ride on. The bearing needs to ride against this race right here. So the shim goes on the back right here. Alright, here's our O-ring for this shaft. It's usually hard as a rock. This one doesn't seem to be. It's moving around a little bit. Did still break. Still pretty hard. Make sure you get all of it out of there. Put your new O-ring on. Lube that up really well. Press this back down to where it was. Should have measured it before you pressed it out. Alright, I don't know what yours is going to measure. Mine measured 4.3 inches, 4.300 from here to the tip right here. Alright, line up our pump. 10 millimeters for that. And they are, I think we've already measured them, but we'll measure them again. 783 thousandths. Alright, O-ring. It's our selective washer for here. Selective washer for here. We have 2 Z-lock sealing rings. I think from the factory they're butt cut, but if you have butt cut, just stick them together like that. Z-locks go together like that. If you need to put some grease in there, put some grease in there. And then of course there's a gasket that goes between the pump and the case. And our seals for our pump bolts. Okay. On your pin, your spring goes on here. You have a side that has a snap ring groove in it. This goes on this side. And the pin goes in here. And your snap ring goes on the outside here. And the E-clip goes up here. We have a D seal that goes here. On here, there's normally a sealing ring. It's butt cut. Usually in the kits, they will give you a D type seal. They'll also give you this. Do not use this. Use the D seal on here. There's a O-ring that goes here, and there's different sizes of this, and this, so you just got to pick the one that fits what you have. Spring fits on out here, and then our snap ring holds this in. Okay, when you go to put this in the case, there is the feed hole. You want this opening to line up in the feed hole. Okay, this is the part in the servo bore I told you not to try to take out. And I tried to take it out and it did break. Surprisingly enough, I found one online, $24. Hyundai part number is 45245-37000, and this is normally a part of this. Did find this interesting though, that the orifice size out here is 133 thousandths. When you break it off, the orifice size on the inside is about 15 thousandths. And the only thing that's in there is this filter sits in there, and then this cap. This is what you're going to be looking for when you open the servo up. This will be laying there, and that's what it's going to look like. And trying to get this out, the first thing that broke was right here. I was trying to get this thing to turn, trying to loosen it up a little bit, and I was also getting up in behind here trying to get the thing to come out. It's not going to come out easily at all. What I ended up having to do was drill it and tap it for a 5mm .8 and put a bolt on it, and got a slide hammer with a fixture on it, piece that come in here and grabbed it like that with the slide hammer, and it still took a fair amount of force to get it out of there. So it's going to be about that long, and it's going to sit all the way up flush when you get it in there. So that's what it looks like, and that's what it is. Okay, you need to have the spring on the park pawl like that. Your pivot pin. Alright, we have 2 O-rings on here. We have our park pawl, our detent. No, that's upside down. And we'll go down on there. We have our guide. Actually, needs to go this way. 2 12mm bolts. We have our 12mm bolt. It goes here. And 12mm bolt with a washer, and it has a little tip on it. Has to line up our shaft right there. And once we get everything together, our neutral switch is going to go on out here. And I'm on now. See if we can get our flats to line up. You can put your linkage on, and you're going to need a drill bit to line that up. It's a little too big. It's still too big. That's too small, of course. That's pretty close. You want to put that in there to line that up, and then you got two 10mm bolts. It's going to hold that on, and they are 865 thousandths. And they're going to go. And let's get this lined up. They'll go on there just like so. And you got a lock washer and a nut that holds that on there. Alright, lube up your pinion, bearings, and races. And you can even lube up the case inside here where the race goes. And I'm going to have to get this back here where I can see into it. And we have a snap ring. You want the short end. Well, let's see. Nope, this one we want the flat side up. Alright, then your shim that you select. And erase. And our transfer gear and our nut, 36 millimeter. I have to get you torque specs on this, and it is left-handed thread. Okay, I realize this is a little bit further away than it normally is, but I don't want to move the camera a bunch. So we have our ring gear, our hub. Go ahead and change your bushings. Bushings are what cause these bearings to go bad, so if you don't replace the bushings, you're just going to wipe out another set of stuff. So be sure and put bushings in it. So there's snap ring holds that in. There's 4 holes right here. They have to line up in the case. 40 Torx bolts that hold those in there. Once you put that in, let's see if we can go ahead and slide this down on there. Alright. Once you get that in there, you're going to slide your ring gear in from the back. Go ahead and put it in park. That'll hold it. And then I think this was a 52 millimeter nut. My socket is just barely, almost just too small, but I can make it work. Yeah, it's 52.24. So just slide that in from the back, put your nut on. It is right-handed threads. Okay, you can stack your clutches in there with your cushion plate, and then measure your clearance between your clutches. Measure your clearance between the plate and the cushion plate, and it should be somewhere right around 40 thousandths. And you can do it, you can break out your dial gauge if you want to and set it up on there, or you can get you a hose clamp that's like 40 thousandths and check your clearance there just like that. And that's the way I do it. I just stick it in there. And check it that way. And once that's all, you're satisfied that it's okay. You do want to ensure that when you're holding your support that your planetary is freewheeling counterclockwise and locking clockwise. on your servo cover, just make sure the switch is in here. You can use a voltmeter on ohms and just make sure that the switch operates. Continuity when it's up, no continuity when it's down. And then we have an O-ring that fits here. Don't try to take the thing apart. Alright, see how we're going to do this. I think it'd probably be better to just change camera angles. Okay. Band goes in, doesn't matter which way you put it in. Then our sun shell goes on. And we can go ahead and start our adjuster. It's a 7mm. And hopefully we're getting a good view in there. This little thing right here, you need to make sure it's in there. Don't try to take it out. Up in the end of it right here is a aluminum disc. If you happen to take this apart and you find an aluminum disc laying in here, it came off of this, and it has to be in there. Finding one of these things, I don't know if you'd, good luck. I don't know if you'd find one or not. Probably not nowadays. It was even kind of hard back in the day. If you look right here, you see your feed hole. You want this to be lined up on that. Alright, short end of the taper up on our snap ring. Servo cover in and your snap ring. Make sure your band is on your servo, and then when your adjuster comes through, make sure it's on that. Alright, make sure your band is centered. Tighten it down. Snug, and then back off 2 turns. sure that our shell does turn. Tighten that adjustment nut down. And then we have a bearing and race. Sits on top just like that right there. Alright, you're either going to have to prop your case up or you're going to have to find a hole in the table. You're going to set your drum down in. It's going to hit the table unless you're up. So I'm going to have to move this to where the camera can't see. Go ahead and lube up your pump O-ring and lube up your case. And put your gasket on. Put your pump in, tighten your bolts down, and once I get that done, I'll be back. Alright, put your axle seal in, press your axle seal in, O-ring here, lube up your housing. Get the right shim, put your shim in. Place your differential in. Put your housing in, it'll only line up one way. $12mm for that. And put our piece in that holds that down, 17mm on that. Alright, we got the gasket, got the housing, 12mm, 14mm. Let's see, I think these two stay off. Yeah, so these two stay off for right now. We can use them to line up. Alright, then our bracket goes on. And our 14s. And then right over here, this is 17. Alright, if you want to air check front clutch, rear clutch, in clutch, low reverse, servo apply, servo release. Alright, lube up your O-ring here, make sure your O-ring's on here. Once your case connector is through, there's a clip that holds it on the case on the outside. Make sure that your manual valve slot is on there, and that the manual valve still moves once you tighten it down. Okay, valve body bolts, 1" 260. (1" 650 and 1" 850. Alright, about to run out of battery. O-ring on your temp sensor.
That one's for that Hyundai, right?
Yeah.
Outside.
Don't have all the parts yet.
No.
A little tab on your sensor goes in that hole. I'll move this over here so we don't get pinched in the pan. Alright, our filter. $700 thousandths on the bolts, 10 millimeters. Okay, depending on which model you have, they give you a couple different pan gaskets. So just make sure you get the right one on here. And 10 millimeter bolts for that. Okay, on your speedometer, there's a roll pin here. You just pull it out. It has to line up with that spot right there. There's a seal down inside here. I just get a seal puller. This one's from Snap-on. It's S90948. And you just hook it on there and just be careful. You don't want to gouge it up. Pull your seal out and put your new one down on there. I use a socket to get on here and press it in with a arbor press. And let me see if I can get this back out without screwing it up. I believe it should just stop down in there, but the depth of it is 635 thousandths. So once you get that in there, you just put your gear in, put your roll pin back in, flush. 10 millimeter holds that to the case, 770 thousandths long, and 9 foot-pounds when you tighten it down. O-ring goes on here, and then there's a seal that goes inside of here. And it just screws on, and you just need to do it snug. They don't need to be cranked down really tight, or you're going to just break it. Okay, this is not going to stay in here because this is not the right parts yet, but I can show you how it's done so I can get this video done. It's going to be like 2 weeks before my parts show up. So once you get the new bushing in there, this side's going to face in. Your race is going to sit on top. The O-ring is going to go right there. Bearing's going to go in your housing. Usually it'll push in. If it won't, just take it to the arbor press and press. Once it's in there, put your drum on, your shims on, your bearings on. Then you're going to put the H gauge. Let's see if I can get this out of the way. You put your H gauge on here. Once that's set, you just flip it over. And then you're going to check your clearance on your race. Once everything's all set, put some silicone on there, and then you're going to put your drum. You're going to put your drum assembly on here. Put some silicone on. Put your housing on. $12mm for that. Your speedometer assembly gonna go over here. Where's the hole? Right in there. And 10mm for that. The long lead is going to go up here. Short lead is going to go down here. And 2 10mm for that. And we're done with the unit. Alright, I thought I'd better film this because this happened nothing like I thought it was going to turn out. So, on my clearance when I got the new parts in here, the shim that came in the kit was 15 thousandths, I believe. Yeah, 15 thousandths. That was nowhere near enough. I had to add another, let's see, this one's 6, and nine, so 15, and 17, 20, another 22 thousandths. And when you put all of that on this side, that makes this bearing not want to sit in there properly. So put 2 shims on this side, the bearing still fits in there pretty good. The race did not want to fit inside of, the shims do not want to fit inside of the race, so I had to grind it down a little bit so that it fit inside of here. And then I put this on the back of the tranny there. That makes my clearance come out to 15 thousandths. So I'm going to live with that. It says 20 thousandths or less, so we're going to go with that.